All right, we're going to turn our attention to DDO, Dollar des Ormeaux, and I think a story that is specific to that city, but I think it matters for all of us because we are having sort of these existential questions right now on how we develop our cities, our boroughs, what kind of development we allow, what kind we tap the brakes on. So yesterday, the mayor of DDO and his city announced their new urban planning program. City says their proposals take into account the experiences, needs, and suggestions of DDO citizens. The future development is set to be done for 2030, and there's a focus on things like vitality and sustainability of commercial and industrial sectors, and maintaining the attractiveness of neighborhoods to improve quality of life and the quality of dwellings. Let's find out more. Alex Bottausci is the mayor of DDO and is on the line. Mayor Bottausci, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
How important are these types of issues right now when it comes to thinking forward, development, future planning? Where does this rank on the list?
Top 10 out of 10. 9 out of 10. It's crucially important, and it's important on several factors. First, for our city, having a plan that is built by our residents for our residents is key and crucial. Right? That's the first thing that we want to do, and we want to make sure that any future projects that take place on our territory make sense to us for our quality of life in Dollar des Ormeaux and for our residents. So it's key. It's crucial.
So when I hear that, my worry is, the NIMBYs will win everything. The not in my backyard people will fight and fight and fight, and that hampers development, and then you end up in situations where development doesn't happen, so rents rise, the cost of housing rises, and then we end up in a worse situation. Tell me about that balancing act and what you've decided there.
Well, you're right. It is a balancing act, and I think for Dollard, what we are proposing, and it's a preliminary proposal based on feedback that we've had from our residents. A lot, in fact, that is being proposed was already in our bylaws. So it's not something that residents have not seen, but there's a lot of elements that have been included for the future of Dollard and for the betterment of specifically our boulevards. Items like more environmental, more looking at more greenery, using commercial and residential mixed usages. These are the types of things that came up in our discussions, and that is what is being included moving forward. And the purpose of our meetings next week are to use the public once again as a sounding board and to get their feedback on whether we're heading in the right direction. Ultimately, I want to build a plan that is acceptable to everybody.
And what does that mean for developing things like houses? Is there room in DDO to go and get some more condo buildings to allow for more density, maybe in places that now have only single-family homes, and to allow a little bit more mixity? Where do you stand on that?
No. So the beauty with Dollard is that the areas in which there are residential homes will remain that way. That is the beautiful component. What we are looking at with our residents are common areas such as Sources and St. John's. How to retool them, how to re-engineer them for the future without going too dense. Going some type of medium size, as we've always seen in Dollar des Ormeaux, anywhere between 5 to 9 floors is the typical thing that you see in Dollar des Ormeaux, but including these other components that are important to our residents moving forward.
Does that mean that you'll look at, let's say, parking lots? This is one thing that always gets me. You have something that's just a parking lot right now, and someone says, okay, we want to build up. We'll put the parking underground, and yet there's still hang-ups because people are worried about, but it's going to mean more people live here and more cars. What about that aspect? What about protecting the parking lot? Where do you stand on that?
Well, that goes into the hot zones, and that is something that we would like to see reduced. So it's actually an opportunity. When I said re-engineer, that's actually an opportunity where you have an old strip mall to which serves very little purpose at this point in terms of even the square footage and how it's servicing our community, that could be retooled where you have a mixed occupancy between residential and commercial, and the commercial is serving the residential component.
What about the taxation here, right? Because if you can build up your residential base, if you can have more people, that builds up your tax base. Where do you stand, and where do you think residents stand? Because if there is too much stagnation, at times that can mean long-term more taxes, higher taxes, as there are fewer people to pay for goods, services, roads, and the like. Where do you stand there?
Beautiful segue. You are 100% right on that. When you don't have development, that is the danger. And especially with the increases that we've seen coming in from Montreal over the last few years, there's a heightened pressure on the financial end, right? And what we need to be able to do is to create that cash flow in order to contain taxes and as well deliver our services. So no cash flow means that you're looking at cutting your services and increasing taxes. That's something that no administration ever wants to be faced with. And the other component is what we hear about in the media day in and day out, which is a housing crisis that we have. Now, we can't resolve all of the housing crisis, just single-handedly from des Ormeaux, but we can certainly put our best foot forward, and we certainly can chip away and help collectively chip away at that particular situation that we have going on now.
Well, and certainly on that end, we're with Alex Bottausci, the mayor of DDO. On that end, we have recent examples. Like, it was not lost on me that Pointe Claire, which there have been a lot of developments that have been stuck in neutral or stopped in Pointe Claire. And the latest stats on rental, the price of rent, showed that part of the island saw a significant increase, right? So I think sometimes we have to think about that as well, like the cost of rents. What do you think, Mayor Bottausci? Do the residents of Dollar, do your citizens understand? Because I know right now it's such a tricky situation. Politicians, municipal politicians, they're getting threats, they're getting nastiness. Do you get a sense that the citizens understand the complex issues that you're grappling with?
More now than ever, especially since we've had these public consultations, the feedback that we've had, the number of residents that have come out, the talk on the street, it's at a different level, I feel, in des Ormeaux. We have moved away from that NIMBY approach into looking at a collective approach and something that will meet everybody's expectations. The one thing that I've always found is with these projects is, excluding people out of the process leaves a bit of a bitter taste in their mouth because they don't understand all of the complexities of a particular, urban plan or these types of complex plans. But having them get involved begins to open up that dialogue, and everybody gets a little bit more educated. We at the city got a lot more educated in terms of what people were expecting, and their expectations are quite reasonable. So I believe that, come the time frame of October, hopefully as we continue with our public consultations, we should be able to reach a point where we've got something tangible to present to the community, and something that's tangible that will be accepted by our residents. Right? And there is a component in this that the listeners also need to understand is, Montreal is going down a path with the CMM of introducing new legislation when it comes to urban planning for all of the island of Montreal. And if we don't do this, and we don't do this before them, then their laws will trump our laws. And that's where there's a little bit of fear, because the densities that they are calling for are very high and dense buildings. You're talking about 15, 20 floors potentially. And that's not something that we in Dollard, or I'll speak on behalf of all of the West Island, I don't think that this is what West Islanders want. I think we're okay with reasonable, mid-sized development, things that are green, things that fit well within our community, things that integrate common transportation, le transport en commun pour tout le monde. I think these are the things that people are looking for, and that's what we need to include our plan moving forward.
Last thing, Mayor Bottausci, because I got a listener sending me this note, and he wants to know where you stand on the development project at the Old Scores restaurant. Now, I always was a fan of a good salad bar, but I don't have a soft spot to keep an old Scores restaurant in place. Where do you stand on St. John's? Do you have a stance on that?
Yeah, very simple. Listen, we have a moratorium right now on any development in Dollar des Ormeaux. So for the time being, nothing is moving forward. I believe that the previous owner has now put it up for sale. So that's going to be for some future development. And all of these talks that we have going on right now, and for that listener that just wrote into you, please, I welcome that individual to come in and give us, his or her ideas to the way they see things happening along the boulevard.
All right, my hot take from the center of the city is build on the old scores. Don't stop and don't delay. I got to leave it there, Mayor. I appreciate your time. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
Alex,
all the very best.
You too. Take care. That's Alex Bottausci, the mayor of DDO.